Beneath the rolling hills of South Africa lies a darkness untouched for hundreds of thousands of years, a labyrinth of stone where time itself seems frozen. Deep in its narrowest passage, just 18 centimeters wide, a secret waited patiently in the suffocating black. It was not gold, nor jewels, but something far more valuable, the remains of a species that should not have existed, a ghost from a forgotten chapter of our own family tree. They were small, their brains no bigger than a child's, yet they walked upright, shaped tools, and may have shared the landscape with our own ancestors. Their skulls told one story, their hands another, their feet whispered of long journeys on the ground, while their curved fingers hinted at a life among the trees. Every bone pulled from the cave shattered the neat, linear tale of human evolution, revealing instead a messy, tangled web where survival belonged not to the biggest brains, but to those who adapted in the most unexpected ways. This is the story of Homo Naledi, the tiny brain enigma that refused to die quietly, and in doing so, rewrote everything we thought we knew about what it means to be human. On the morning of September 13th, 2013, two experienced South African cavers, Rick Hunter and Stephen Tucker, descended into the yawning mouth of the Rising Star Cave system, a sprawling, pitch-black maze hidden within the cradle of humankind near Johannesburg, where the air is stale and ancient, and silence is broken only by the sound of their own breath echoing off limestone walls. Their headlamps painted trembling arcs of light over jagged rock, revealing glittering veins of quartz and the occasional glistening film of underground water as they navigated low tunnels and vertical drops, their bodies twisting through stone corridors so tight they scraped skin against the walls. Then they found it, an almost invisible slit in the rock, a vertical shaft barely 18 centimeters wide at its narrowest. A claustrophobic throat of stone that plunged 12 meters straight down into blackness, so tight that a person could only pass by exhaling, compressing their chest, and worming downward inch by inch. At the bottom, they crawled into a small chamber, sealed off from the surface world for perhaps hundreds of thousands of years. And there, under the fragile glow of their lamps, they froze. Bones were everywhere, not buried, not fossilized beyond recognition, but lying in the dust as if time had simply paused, their pale surfaces catching the light like ghosts. There were jawbones still gripping ancient teeth, delicate finger joints arranged as if in repose, curved ribs half sunken in sediment, and fragments of skulls staring back with hollow, eyeless sockets. Human in some ways, yet strangely unfamiliar. The men photographed everything and carried the images to paleoanthropologist Lee Berger, who, the moment he saw them, felt the electric jolt of history. This was no ordinary find. This could be an entirely unknown species of human. Within weeks, Berger had assembled a specialized team of scientists and 6 ultra-slender, highly skilled female cavers, nicknamed underground astronauts, chosen solely for their ability to navigate the deadly squeeze into what would soon be named the Dinaledi Chamber. Over the next 3 weeks, in conditions so cramped that they could not stand, where every movement risked brushing against priceless remains, the team extracted fossils with the precision of surgeons and the patience of watchmakers, logging, wrapping, and lifting each fragment into the light for the first time in countless ages. When they finally emerged, they had recovered more than 1,550 individual fossil elements from at least 15 individuals, a staggering, record-breaking haul for any African hominin in sight. And months later, another hidden room, the Dinaledi Chamber, gave up 131 more, all belonging to the same mysterious population. Among the collection were skulls, jaws, vertebrae, intact hands and feet, even a skull with its jaw still locked in place, each piece a direct line to a life once lived in the deep past. But the bones brought more questions than answers. How had they ended up in this utterly inaccessible chamber? What kind of humans were they? And how could such a small-brained, small-bodied species have survived into an era when our own ancestors were already walking the earth? The rising star discovery was not just another addition to the fossil record, it was a revelation that tore open the clean linear narrative of human evolution, revealing instead a wild, tangled story where the march of progress was not defined by bigger brains or stronger bodies, but by the mysterious persistence of creatures like Homo Naledi, who refused to disappear quietly into history. The moment the first skull fragments of Homo Naledi were pieced together, it was clear this was no ordinary human relative. The face that emerged was a strange composite of the ancient and the modern, a mosaic of features that seemed pulled from different chapters of our evolutionary past. Their skulls were unmistakably from the genus Homo, yet far smaller in capacity, with brain volumes ranging between 460 and 610 cubic centimeters, barely half that of a modern human, and closer to early Australopithecines that walked the Earth nearly 2 million years before. But size was not the whole story. Their brains, though small, had a frontal lobe structure comparable to later humans, a clue that cognitive abilities like tool use, social behavior, or even rudimentary symbolic thought might have been within their grasp. Their brow ridges were pronounced yet not as heavy as Neanderthals. Their jaws protruded slightly, and their teeth were surprisingly small for such a small-brained species, with molars more similar in proportion to our own than to older hominins. Their bodies, reconstructed from the wealth of bones, painted an equally perplexing picture. On average, they stood just 143 centimeters tall, weighing around 40 kilograms. Their frames light but not fragile, with long lower limbs built for walking upright over distance, and feet so human-like in structure that a casual glance at their prints might mistake them for our own. Yet above the waist, the picture changed dramatically. Their rib cages were conical, tapering upwards like those of Australopithecines, their shoulders set high and forward, hinting at powerful climbing abilities, and their clavicles short, giving them a narrow upper body. Most striking of all were their hands, proportioned much like ours, with strong thumbs capable of precise, controlled grips, but paired with long, curved fingers adapted for grasping branches, suggesting they could manipulate tools on the ground and still move with ease in the trees. Their legs told the story of a committed biped, but their upper bodies whispered of a life still partly arboreal, an evolutionary duality that defied neat categorization. Sexual dimorphism, the size difference between males and females, was modest at about 20%, similar to many later humans, breaking the pattern seen in small-brained species, which often showed extreme male dominance in size. Their teeth and jaw mechanics hinted at a diet that may have included tough plant matter, small animals, and possibly even cooked food, though direct evidence of fire use is still debated. Their skeletal robustness suggested they were physically active, perhaps covering large distances on foot in search of resources. Yet the curved bones of their fingers and the structure of their wrists marked them as climbers who could still escape danger vertically if needed. The more scientists examined their anatomy, the more they realized Homo Naledi was a rule breaker. Its small brain size did not match its advanced hands and feet. Its mix of climbing and walking adaptations defied the clean transition from tree dweller to ground walker, and its dental proportions didn't follow the usual link between jaw size and brain size in human evolution. In life, a Naledi individual would have seemed both familiar and alien to our eyes. Short but upright, with a long-limbed, lean body, a head slightly smaller and lower than ours, a face framed by a modest brow ridge and forward-jutting jaw, eyes bright and scanning, fingers curling with both precision and strength, feet planting firmly on the earth, yet ready to grip bark when needed. Every inch of their body spoke of survival, of a species that had found a unique balance between old-world climbing skills and new-world endurance walking. A body that could thrive in the varied, rugged landscapes of Pleistocene Africa. And perhaps most intriguing of all, this small, strange hominin had not lived in some distant, isolated age. They had walked the Earth between 335,000 and 236,000 years ago, at a time when early Homo sapiens were already present on the continent, which means that somewhere in the vast African wilderness, our direct ancestors and these small-brained cousins may have crossed paths, competing for food, observing one another, perhaps even interacting in ways we can only imagine. Homo Naledi's body was more than a collection of bones. It was a living contradiction, a survivor built from the blueprints of two different worlds, a physical testament to the fact that evolution is not a straight ladder, but a tangled web, where the old and the new can coexist in unexpected harmony. To imagine the life of Homo Naledi, you must first step back more than 250,000 years into the heart of Pleistocene Africa, into a land where open savannas stretched under an unforgiving sun, broken by pockets of forest, rocky outcrops, and winding rivers, a landscape alive with danger and opportunity. Here, vast herds of antelope and zebra grazed under the watchful eyes of lions, leopards, and saber-toothed cats, while elephants, rhinos, and towering giraffes moved like living monuments across the plains. And in the shadows, crocodiles and massive pythons waited for the unwary. Homo Naledi navigated this world with a body built for versatility. By day, they moved upright across the land, their long legs carrying them efficiently from one food source to the next, scanning the horizon for predators or competitors, while their eyes, adapted to daylight, read subtle changes in vegetation or animal movement. Yet when the landscape offered cliffs, trees, or boulder-strewn ridges, they could switch seamlessly to climbing, using their long, curved fingers to grip branches or stone, their narrow shoulders allowing agile movements in spaces other hominins might avoid. Their diet was likely broad and opportunistic, shaped by seasonal availability. Fruits and tubers dug from the earth with sharp stones, seeds and nuts cracked open with hammering strikes, insects plucked from rotting logs, small animals caught with quick bursts of speed or opportunistic scavenging from predator kills, their small teeth indicating they processed food efficiently, perhaps even with the help of primitive tools. Their hands, capable of precision grips, hint at a species that may have crafted simple implements, stone flakes for cutting, digging sticks, or sharpened bone points, though none have yet been directly associated with them, leaving an open question about whether tool use was common or situational. Socially, they may have lived in small groups, moving together through their territory, the adults watching over the young while sharing the burdens of foraging and predator vigilance, their modest sexual dimorphism suggesting a relatively cooperative social structure rather than one dominated by aggressive male competition. The evidence from the rising star caves that so many individuals of different ages ended up deep in an almost inaccessible chamber has fueled intense debate over whether Homo Naledi deliberately placed their dead there, a behavior once thought unique to larger-brained humans. If true, it would suggest an extraordinary cognitive leap for such a small-brained species, an understanding of death, and perhaps even ritual, though others argue they may have simply become trapped or sought refuge in the cave, dying there by misfortune rather than intent. Their daily life was one of constant movement and vigilance, shaped by an ecosystem where survival depended on adaptability, avoiding predators by retreating into rocky crevices or climbing into the branches, exploiting food sources that others could not reach, and perhaps using cooperation to hunt small prey or defend against threats. The seasons would dictate their challenges. In the wet months, rivers swelled and food was abundant. But in the dry season, waterholes shrank to dangerous traps where predator and prey alike were forced into tense proximity. Competition would not have been limited to animals. Other hominins, possibly including early Homo sapiens, Homo heidelbergensis, or even late-surviving Homo erectus, may have shared or contested the same resources, and while direct evidence of interaction is absent, the possibility of territorial disputes, mutual avoidance, or even rare exchanges of knowledge cannot be ruled out. Their brains, though small, were organized in ways that might have allowed them to solve problems, remember landscapes, and perhaps even anticipate events. A flash flood, a predator's hunting pattern, the ripening of a fruit grove, granting them a survival advantage in a dangerous and changeable world. At night, they may have sheltered in shallow caves, dense thickets, or atop sturdy branches, the darkness alive with the distant calls of hyenas and the deep rumble of lions, their groups huddled close for warmth and protection, perhaps communicating in a series of calls, gestures, or expressions that carried meaning even without formal language. In this world, strength was not measured in muscle alone, nor intelligence solely by brain size. It was adaptability that defined survival, and in that regard, Homo Naledi excelled, blending traits of ancient tree dwellers with the endurance of long-distance walkers, thriving in a niche that more specialized species could not fill. And for hundreds of thousands of years, they endured, unseen by history, until the day their bones, sealed in darkness, would step once more into the light and remind us that human evolution was never a straight march toward us, but a branching, tangled forest of survivors, each playing their own quiet role in the story of what it means to be human. When the first nearly complete skulls of Homo naledi were carefully reconstructed in the lab, the numbers seemed absurd. Brain volumes ranging between roughly 465 and 610 cubic centimeters, barely larger than those of chimpanzees and less than half the size of modern humans. Yet the closer scientists looked, the more these tiny brains began to dismantle one of paleoanthropology's most deeply rooted assumptions: that intelligence is a direct product of brain size. Instead, what emerged from the smooth, mineral-hardened curves of the skulls was a brain that, despite its modest dimensions, showed sophisticated internal organization, particularly in the frontal lobes and parietal regions, areas tied to decision-making, planning, social strategy, and possibly even rudimentary symbolic thought. These features suggested that evolution had not simply given Homo naledi a scaled-down version of a primitive brain, but had instead built a neural network optimized for efficiency, squeezing advanced cognitive wiring into a compact space, much like fitting the circuitry of a modern smartphone into the size of a flip phone. The implications were staggering. Perhaps the costs of maintaining a large brain in terms of constant caloric demand were too high in the harsh, resource-limited environments Homo naledi inhabited, so evolution found another way, trading raw capacity for streamlined problem-solving ability. The strongest piece of evidence hinting at this intelligence came not from their brain cases, but from the way their bodies had been found, deep inside the pitch-black Dinaledi Chamber, a space so isolated that modern cavers must exhale to squeeze through a gap just 18 centimeters across before descending 12 meters into the earth. There, in the stillness, lay the undisturbed bones of at least 15 individuals, some partially articulated, none showing signs of having been dragged in by predators or swept in by floods. This raised a possibility that sent shockwaves through the scientific community. Had Homo naledi deliberately placed their dead here, returning to the same hidden chamber again and again over generations? If true, this would represent a behavior previously thought exclusive to Homo sapiens, Neanderthals, and perhaps a few other large-brained relatives, a ritual act requiring memory, planning, cooperation, and perhaps even an emotional understanding of mortality. To bring bodies into that chamber, Homo naledi would have needed to navigate total darkness, suggesting either an extraordinary mental map of the cave system or the use of artificial light sources such as fire or resin torches. Yet here, the evidence falters. No preserved charcoal or soot marks have yet been found, though that absence could be explained by the deep age of the sediments and the delicate nature of such traces. Their hands with long curved fingers ideal for climbing, but also featuring thumbs and joints capable of precision grips, hint at an ability to craft and manipulate tools, even though no direct artifacts have been tied to them. Could they have worked wood, hide, or other perishable materials that vanished over time, leaving only their bones to whisper the story? Their mixed anatomy, ape-like shoulders built for powerful climbing, human-like legs suited for efficient walking, and small, agile bodies, suggests a species that could move between the treetops and the ground with ease, adapting their survival strategies to shifting landscapes. And this physical versatility could have gone hand in hand with mental adaptability. In an environment where predators, seasonal changes, and scarce resources demanded constant improvisation, brains like theirs, small but cunning, may have been exactly the tool they needed. Some researchers have suggested they may have had a form of proto-language, structured vocal calls or patterned gestures, enough to coordinate group actions like cooperative foraging or corpse disposal. Though this remains speculation, Still, it is hard to imagine navigating the labyrinthine tunnels of rising star with others in complete blackness, without some means of communication, and the date of their existence makes the picture even stranger. If they lived as recently as 236,000 years ago, they may have shared southern Africa with early Homo sapiens, meaning that these small-brained beings were not relics from a distant chapter of human history, but contemporaries of our own species. Did they encounter each other, exchange glances across a riverbank, compete for resources, or perhaps even pass on a survival trick or two in fleeting moments of interspecies contact? If that happened, then intelligence in our lineage is no longer a single, steadily rising line toward modern humans, but a wild, branching experiment where multiple designs for smartness existed at the same time, some favoring brain volume, others favoring neural efficiency. To probe deeper, scientists made endocasts, internal molds of the brain cases, mapping the folds and grooves in exquisite detail, and what they found was unsettling. Despite the small size, the organization of some brain regions was strikingly similar to that of modern humans, as if natural selection had converged on similar solutions from a completely different starting point. But what did this intelligence feel like from the inside? Did a Homo Naledi parent watch the sunset and feel a flicker of awe? Or did they see only the practical fading of daylight? Did they fear the darkness of the cave? Or did they walk into it with purpose, carrying their dead because of an unspoken sense of duty? Perhaps they huddled at night under skins or leaves, not just for warmth, but for the comfort of closeness. Or perhaps their minds never strayed far from the present moment, bound tightly to the rhythms of hunger, thirst, and safety. Yet, even if their mental world was narrower than ours, there is something deeply human in the idea that they might have carried grief into the earth, placed the bodies of kin where animals could not reach them, and returned to the living with that act completed. It suggests not only intelligence, but a shared inner life, something intangible but unmistakable that links them to us. And so, Homo Naledi forces us to confront a difficult truth. We are not the inevitable culmination of evolution's work, but one of several survivors of a tangled, unpredictable lineage, and intelligence itself is not a straight march toward complexity, but a shifting mosaic of solutions, each perfectly tuned to its time and place. In the echoing silence of the Dinaledi Chamber, their bones still lie as they were left hundreds of millennia ago, carrying in their stillness the quiet defiance of a species that, with a brain the size of a child's, may have understood the world in ways we are only beginning to imagine. For a species that may have endured for hundreds of thousands of years, the end of Homo Naledi came in a silence so complete that it left not even a whisper in the fossil record. No clear layer of ash from a volcanic catastrophe, no scatter of butchered bones suggesting violent conflict, no slow, telltale traces of starvation in the marrow. One moment, in the deep past, they were there, moving between sunlit savannas and shadowed caves, their curved fingers gripping bark, their quick feet pressing paths into the dust, their small yet cunning brains solving the daily puzzles of survival. And then, sometime after 236,000 years ago, they were gone. The landscape they vanished from was not static, but alive with change. Climate pulses brought sudden droughts, followed by heavy rains. Rivers swelled and retreated. Forests thinned. Grasslands expanded and contracted, and every such shift reshuffled the balance of predators and prey. Perhaps their small, specialized bodies, so adept at climbing and moving lightly, found fewer and fewer trees to cling to, forcing them to compete more directly on open ground where other hominin species, possibly even early Homo sapiens, already held the advantage. Or perhaps the very trait that had sustained them for so long, their small-brained efficiency, became a liability in an arms race where rivals wielded more complex tools, coordinated hunts over longer distances, and adapted to new threats with speed they could not match. Yet extinction is rarely the work of a single blow. It is usually a tightening knot, a slow unspooling of options, each bad season and lost hunt eroding the margin for recovery. One year the waterhole is dry, the next a favored foraging ground is burned, the next an unfamiliar predator prowls the night. And while it is tempting to imagine Homo Naledi as vanishing in a dramatic apocalyptic event. It may be that they simply dwindled quietly, one group splitting from another in search of resources until those fragments became too small to sustain themselves. Perhaps the last of them huddled in the familiar darkness of the Dinaledi Chamber, the air heavy with the scent of damp stone. Their firelight, if they had it, casting flickers across the faces of the dead, already laid within, and in that moment, they may have known, without words, that no one else would return after them. What makes their disappearance particularly haunting is the timing. By the era they vanish from the record, Southern Africa may already have been home to our own kind, and the possibility that Homo sapiens and Homo Naledi crossed paths lingers like an unproven rumor. Did we compete for the same prey animals, the same shelters? Did early humans see them not as people, but as clever, dangerous animals to be driven off or killed? Or did they watch us from the safety of the trees or the dark mouths of caves, sensing that something in us was different, that our tools and numbers gave us an edge they could not counter? If there was conflict, its traces have long since vanished under layers of soil and time, leaving only the question. But even without direct contact, the spread of Homo sapiens into their range could have been enough. Our hunting efficiency, our ability to plan and store food, and our flexible social structures would have made us formidable competitors in any shared ecosystem. And yet, there's another, quieter possibility that Homo Naledi did not vanish abruptly, but faded into us in ways we cannot yet measure, leaving small genetic echoes that no fossil can reveal. Without preserved DNA, we cannot know if there was interbreeding, but if there was, it means part of them might still walk the earth inside us, not in bone or shape, but in microscopic fragments of code. Still, the more likely truth is that when the last Homo Naledi died, their lineage ended completely, their language, if they had one, unspoken, their traditions, if they existed, unremembered. What remained was the cave, its narrow entrance and twisting descent, sealing off their bones from the surface world for hundreds of millennia, until chance and human curiosity reopened it. And when those bones finally saw light again, they had not changed. Their faces, reconstructed from skulls, look both alien and familiar, their eye sockets deep, their brows heavy, their jaws strong. Looking at them is like glimpsing an alternative version of humanity, a road evolution could have taken but did not. In their extinction lies a warning for us, though its message is subtle. Survival is never guaranteed, no matter how well adapted, intelligent, or resourceful a species appears. All it takes is the wrong combination of environmental change, competition, and bad luck to erase an entire branch of the human family tree. And unlike the scattered bones of predators or prey that are lost and forgotten, the Dinaledi Chamber preserved Homo Naledi in a kind of suspended time. 15 individuals, some young, some old, all frozen in the moment of their final deposition, their survival strategies, relationships, and dreams forever sealed in rock. Today, their absence is as loud as their presence once was. A gap in the record that demands we rethink the path to being human. They remind us that our species' dominance is not a destiny written in stone, but a precarious inheritance, one that could, if we falter, end as suddenly as theirs did. And so, in the dim, humid air of that South African cave, we are confronted not with a simple story of evolution, but with a ghost, one that stares back from the deep past, carrying the unspoken question that lingers after every extinction. When our own time runs out, who will be left to find our bones?